And welcome into another great edition of the Xtra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM, online at WEGLFM.com, and also on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6, and EagleEyeAuburn.com. I'm your host, Jared Dillard, and alongside me is the one, the only, it's Brooks Childress. Brooks, how are you doing today?
Did you see what happened Saturday night? I'm great.
I
am still so happy. Like, if I get, like, last night, I was kind of mad at Malcolm Butler for not covering Emmanuel Sanders like he should, and Emmanuel Sanders just balled on him. But then I immediately thought about Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. I'm like, I'm happy again. It's great. It's a great day.
It is a great day, especially on the Plains, as Auburn takes down Georgia. And just a microcosm of, that's a $2 word right there. That may be a little bit too much of a big of a word this early in the week. But just how the college landscape shifted after last week. Actually, let's just put in the last 2 weeks. It's been a really crazy look into college football, and that's why we're going to open the show with simply just that. The landscape is ruined. Not ruined, it looks great, but
to say
the landscape has been turned upside down.
It's been turned to ruins.
Teams that we thought they were good aren't as good as we thought they were, Georgia being one of them, Ohio State being another.
Notre Dame.
Teams that we thought that didn't have a chance anymore are slowly creeping their way back in. And so now college football is in this weird predicament. And there's a couple scenarios. One being is a conversation we had 20 minutes ago out in the studio. Should two SEC teams get in? Is the SEC good enough to qualify that? All those questions and more is what will be on the show today. Also, talking about Jerry Jones, Rodger Goodell, that whole thing. College basketball is back here on the Plains and around the nation. And the NBA, the Celtics are streaking, but the Thunders are tanking. So, all that will be on the show today. But let's go ahead and get into our first topic, which is college basketball. I'm sorry, college football. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I was about to say, wow, that was quicker than I expected.
And spoiler alert, I'm still sick. So
I'm gonna scoot over.
Still not doing well. But let's get into that. College football. So, Notre Dame. They said Miami can have the chain. We just went the ring. Well, now Miami has the chain, and they're looking for a ring because Notre Dame, for the most part, is gone. They're done. And the Georgia loss didn't help them either in that regard. It was already going to be near impossible with a 2-loss independent team to get in. Now, even with the Georgia loss, it kind of just shot everything. So, Notre Dame, is Notre Dame still the team that we think they are? They're still a good team.
Yeah, they're still a really good team.
I didn't realize how one-dimensional Notre Dame was.
I saw it so long. I did not think that Notre Dame deserved to be a top 4 team because of how one-dimensional they are. And we're like, oh, but they're really good. I think they're a really good team, but they played 2 really quality teams in Georgia and Miami, and they came out flat against both of them.
You're right.
And so Notre Dame.
Now wait. Notre Dame did play USC. Say what you want about USC. They're not as good as we think they are.
No, they're not.
But they're still a good team.
They're a good team.
So
yes.
you add USC to that crop.
But
you can put them there. So they did well against one of those 3 teams.
I can't put USC on the same level as Georgia and Miami right now. I don't think they're
even now. You don't think you can put USC with Georgia?
I don't think so. I still think Georgia's a really good team. They have just. I don't think Georgia's played anyone either. Until they played a formidable defense this weekend. What formidable defenses have they played this year? Maybe Notre Dame. They played Vanderbilt. That's not a great defense. They played Tennessee. That's definitely not a great defense.
We'll get to that later.
They've played Florida. And that's not a great team. Then they've blown these teams out, and then they finally met a team that's got a great defense and can stop their run and force Jake Fromm to throw the ball, and he couldn't throw it well enough, and he didn't have enough time. Because if you watch that game Saturday, I'm sure Jake Fromm's a great quarterback, and he will develop as a good passer. But when you're given 2 seconds from the snap to make a decision and throw the ball, that's kind of hard. Because Auburn's defensive line was in the backfield all game long, pressuring Fromm, forcing him to run out of the pocket. And so Georgia is still a good team. I think they were just this weekend they were exposed a little bit that they rely so much on Sony Michel and Nick Chubb to carry that team that they have not developed their passing game that well. And I think Miami is the better team out of all the teams that Notre Dame's played. And I don't think USC is up there with them, 'cause even though they've got probably one of, if not the greatest quarterback right now quarterback / NFL prospect quarterback in college football, I still don't put them on that same level as Georgia or Miami.
And then on top of that,
I think I just said a lot without saying nothing there, really.
You really did. You make a great politician. I think
a great football coach.
I think the Alabama, Republicans may have a spot open to him, Brooks, that you can slide yourself into.
Man, I'm not a big politics guy. I'd rather, if I'm going to say a lot without saying anything, I can go football. That way I can tell you a whole, our guys are great without telling you, hey, we're not that great.
Well, on top of that, Alabama struggled against Mississippi State. We saw how they had to come back and win that game. Other teams, TCU, for the most part, they need to win the Big 12 championship if they want even a slightest hope at getting into the college football playoffs. We saw Auburn get a big win over Georgia, one of the biggest wins. It is actually, in the college football playoff ranking era, it is the biggest win over a number one team. The other 4 losses were single-digit losses. This was 23 points. So, tip your caps to the Auburn Tigers on that one. So, this is going to transition into one team that we're going to talk about that's in the top 6, but not a lot of people want to put them into the top 4. It's Wisconsin. And I've heard a lot of people in our suite talk about it. I listened to Paul Feinbaum and his podcast yesterday talk about it, and the reason why Wisconsin is still kind of just hovering in that no man's land. And I just want to get thoughts, because it's something that we have personally clashed on week in and week out, is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we're going to clash again in a couple of minutes when we do the 4 and Out segment. But why is it that you think the committee doesn't give Wisconsin the credit that you think that they deserve?
I mean, you've said it all year, and I've recently more admitted it. Their schedule's not the strongest, but you've got to give them credit for scheduling BYU, even though they're not a good team this year. They scheduled that game.
We played BYU. Give us credit.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about it is you schedule these games years in advance.
It's true.
Right? So they scheduled BYU back when BYU was a 10-win team.
You don't know when these teams are going to be good.
So it's not their fault that BYU is one of the worst teams in college football.
The counter argument to that is, well, maybe you shouldn't schedule BYU, who usually is up and down. That maybe you should schedule somebody that you know can consistently get to at least 8 wins.
But that's usually BYU's MO. This is one of, if not the worst BYU year I've seen in my lifetime. BYU's always a really good, maybe a 8 to 10 win team, and that's when Wisconsin scheduled them back when it was a 10 win team.
A Power 5 team shouldn't be relying on BYU to put on a resume to say we need to be in the college football playoff. That's all I'm going to say.
But
I understand that BYU is usually an 8 to 10 win team, but if they were counting on the end of this year saying BYU is a quality win, then I don't know what they're thinking.
Just this year, but usually
I know,
it's a quality win.
But
that's not their fault.
Was that their prime out of conference game?
Yeah, that was the big out of conference game, because
but then compare that to Clemson, who beat Auburn. Compare that to Alabama, who would have beaten a really good Florida State team if things just didn't fall off the wagon. Compare that to...
But what if... Let's go down the hypothetical road here. What if Clemson had beaten Auburn, but it was the 3-6 Auburn team from 2012? Would we still consider that a big quality win?
That is more of an outlier than BYU.
BYU,
It's easier to say BYU would be bad this year than Auburn would be bad.
I can give you that. But BYU, they scheduled BYU.
And on top of that, Auburn's still a Power 5 team.
Yeah. But
BYU is not.
BYU is essentially, if they joined the Pac-12, they would be a contender in the Pac-12. Normally, they would be a contender in the Pac-12. So there's the first argument for Wisconsin, is they scheduled BYU, which is usually a quality opponent. It's not their fault they're having a historically bad year.
I don't know if BYU would compete in the Pac-12.
I think so.
I think BYU would be decent, but I don't know if they'll compete.
I think they could compete.
And I don't think that's a really good argument to say Wisconsin tried to schedule somebody good outside of their conference, because I've seen better examples. Like Auburn's going to play Washington in a couple of years.
That's next year.
That's next year. That's a good example of scheduling a Power 5 team.
But what if Wisconsin next year is a 3-6 Wisconsin team? They turn out to be a 3-6 Wisconsin.
Are we talking about Wisconsin or Washington?
Yeah, Washington. Whoever we're playing next year, Washington. What if they turn out to be that 3-6 Washington team?
You tried and it just didn't work out.
Well, that's what
BYU. But with BYU is different. We're taking Washington and BYU and saying, well, both of them are bad. You done messed up. But
Washington is more, or BYU is a more consistent team than Washington, I would argue, because they have been a consistently mediocre team until Chris Peterson has gotten there.
Well, it's a good thing the committee doesn't look at consistency over 20 years. They just look at this year.
But my argument is it's not their fault that BYU is this bad. They went out and tried to schedule a good team. It's not their fault.
It may not be their fault, but they have to live with it.
Yes, they do have to live with that. So, next argument for some people is, you're playing Indiana. You didn't beat Indiana by 20 points. You didn't beat so-and-so by 20 points. Last year, Clemson, I don't remember how many one-score games they were in the ACC.
I mean, I can tell you that Pitt got them.
But the national champions last year were in so many one-score games against teams they didn't have any business being one-score game against. And that is Wisconsin this year. Wisconsin's in these close games, they can't blow anyone out. Last year's national championship didn't blow everybody out. Alabama consistently doesn't blow everybody out. Like that Vanderbilt game this year, where Alabama was an outlier. Usually they can beat someone by 2 scores, but it's not going to be, you're like destroying this team and this team and this team week after week after week.
And
that was my argument. Those are
your only 2 arguments.
People will. That's an argument against Wisconsin. Is they're not blowing people out.
Well,
neither.
I do want to point out. I do want to point out. Let me go through Alabama's schedule: 41-10 over Fresno State, 41-23 over Colorado State, 59-0 Vanderbilt, 66-3 over Ole Miss. You got the A&M game, and then 41-9 over Arkansas, 45-7 against Tennessee. Alabama's blowing people out.
But those are bad teams.
I mean, yes,
really
but
bad
Alabama, here's the thing that I heard yesterday. Okay, you played bad teams. Well, prove that they're bad teams. Blow them out. And they did that. Like for Wisconsin, if you're going to play bad teams, prove that they are bad teams. Blow them out the water as you should. And they've struggled to do that. If Alabama's going to play a bad team, blow them out the water and make them look like a bad team. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you're going to play a bad team, then punch them in the face. And we saw what happened when you play a bad team enough and people keep punching them in the face. Bush Jones got fired. So there you go.
I like that. That's a good reasoning. But it's still not it's not a, hey, you got to keep them out because of that reason. They're not blowing people out. Because I pulled up Clemson's schedule from last year. The national champion Clemson, they blew out Kent State game 1, 56-3. They beat Auburn, who was a mediocre team last year, 14-6. Louisville, they beat them 47-21. They beat Boston College 34-17, 31-17 Virginia Tech, and then you get into this is this year's schedule. Wow.
Good job.
I put in 2016. Here we go. I'm going to put in my crack research.
Good job.
All right. So last year, a mediocre Auburn team They only beat 19-3.
Wasted 30 seconds of my life I'm not getting back.
They only beat 19-3. They only beat Troy, a Sunbelt team. Troy's good, but they shouldn't be doing this against a
LSU, what?
A national champion Clemson team, 30-24. They beat Georgia Tech 26-7. They beat Louisville only 42-36. That's a one-score game. They beat NC State in overtime, not a ranked NC State team.
Instead of going through the whole schedule, let me point out why Clemson got respect for that. They played teams. They played Louisville. They played.
That's in their conference, though.
That's fine. They played Louisville. They played us. They played Florida State, and they won the ACC championship game. That's 4 quality wins right there. If I go through Wisconsin's schedule, the only quality win that you can actually say is Iowa. And fun fact, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Iowa's going to be unranked when the college football rankings come out tomorrow, and they're a 4-loss team. And that's their quality win. Now, that being said, they do play Michigan this week. But then, it's the same problem. Michigan loses, Michigan gets bumped out the top 25, and Michigan is a 3-loss team. If you're saying your quality wins are against 3 and 4-loss teams, you have a problem. And it's not Wisconsin's fault. But the Big Ten has beat up on each other so much that their quality wins don't mean much. Their one quality win will be the Big Ten championship game. And let me tell you something. It's a heck of a quality statement win winning the Big Ten championship because you beat a pretty good team to get there. But because the Big Ten beat up on itself so much, those wins mean less and less and less as time goes on. It also doesn't help that Wisconsin is in the pretty bad part of the Big Ten. They're on the SEC East equivalent of the Big Ten. That doesn't help us. So, yes, Clemson may have struggled with a couple of teams, but they beat teams they were supposed to beat when it mattered, and they were really good teams. And Wisconsin has beaten teams, and they've beaten decent Big Ten teams. But there aren't the teams that are going to make people's eyes pop and say, wow, this team's for real. They haven't done that yet. And that's not Wisconsin's fault. It's more of this is just how the conference is. This is how it has to be. And you just have to weather the storm. And in the next coming years, you need to schedule better out-of-conference opponents. So if your conference does fluster like it is this year, you have those quality wins against Power 5 out-of-conference foes to back up. Well, look, our conference may suck, but hey, we beat USC.
But the thing is, they tried to do that quality. And you
didn't try to do the quality win. You didn't. No. You didn't try to do the quality win if you schedule BYU.
BYU is a consistently quality team, 8-10 win team.
No, if the committee ever says in my lifetime,
well then
that BYU is a quality win, and you're going to the college football playoff, disband that organization now because something's wrong.
Is it because they're an independent?
No, it's not because they're independent.
They are an 8-10 win team consistently. That's just like Notre Dame. Notre Dame is an 8-10 win team consistently.
You know who else was an 8-10 win team consistently? UAB.
But they are a Conference USA champion, or not? Well, they will be Conference USA champions. There's my prediction. One day, they are a Conference USA team.
You know who was also a 8-10 win team
BYU has
Georgia, and they got rid of their coach.
BYU has respect.
Just because you won 8 games year in and year out doesn't mean you were a good team. Okay? It depends on who you play. If you played nobody and you won 8 games, okay, you're a decent 8-win team that's played nobody. Just because you went undefeated or just because you won 8 games doesn't mean nothing. Show me a statement win, and then I'll shake your hand. So quickly, because we ran over on time a lot, the 4 and out segment, give me Alabama, Miami, Oklahoma, and Clemson. I'm fine with the AP top 4. Where I'm going to switch it is I'm going to jump Auburn over Wisconsin and put them at 5, Wisconsin at 6. Because, yes, Wisconsin's undefeated. Yes, Auburn has 2 losses, but they are 2 losses that have came against ranked teams, one of them being in the college football playoff, and Auburn has a win over a number 1 ranked team. So I'm going to respect that. And I also want to point out this statement. I am putting the best teams in order. I don't care if you have 0 losses. I don't care if you have 2 losses. The job of the committee is to put the best teams forward. And in my mind, the top 4, those are the best 4 teams in order. Auburn is the 5th best team in the nation. Wisconsin is 6th. Nothing against Wisconsin, but you're not better than those 5 teams. Whenever you're ready.
I'm going to go. I like the top 4 right now in the AP poll. I'm going to throw a wrinkle in here. I'm going to put Miami 1. I really like Miami.
And that's fine.
I really like Miami. I think they made I think this was a statement win this weekend. That was a decent Notre Dame team. They have won consistently.
Beating
in their
the number
conference.
3 team in the nation is a statement win. Beating BYU is not a statement win. I just want to point that out.
All right. I'm going to go Miami 1, Alabama 2, Oklahoma 3, Clemson 4, Wisconsin 5, Auburn 6. The only reason I put Wisconsin 5 is just because they are undefeated. And I will...
See, that doesn't matter to me.
The thing I take away from Auburn is, yes, you did lose to Clemson. That's a good loss. The loss I give them is the LSU loss. Even though LSU's a tough place to play, Death Valley, it's hot, it's loud. LSU, they should have won that LSU game. So that's the only thing I take away from them. If they when they beat Alabama, they're automatically in the top 4.
Let's see. The only thing I would say about just because Wisconsin's undefeated doesn't mean anything. Because if we're looking at undefeated teams, where's Central Florida at? Let's give some love to them. They're undefeated.
Let's go Knights.
Give Scott Frost some credit. They're undefeated, but they're going to sit back there because guess what? Their schedule, their teams that they play, they're not the best, but that's okay. But the same goes for Wisconsin. They're not the best, but that's okay. You're just the number 6 team in my eyes. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we are talking the NFL. Rodger Goodell, Jerry Jones, all that nice stuff. We'll be back in 60 seconds. You'll listen to the Xtra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM or on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6.
Jack Attack.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be tornado next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
And welcome back to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM, online at WEGLFM.com, or also on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6, or EagleEyeAuburn.com. You also listen to us on SoundCloud at WEGL 91.1 FM. You're right, we need to have something a lot shorter.
We are just taking over student media.
We are. So next.
We the best.
So next up, we only have like 5 or so minutes for this segment because we ran over so much in college football. But Rodger Goodell, you brought up Rodger Goodell. Contract negotiations are just going south. Okay, so apparently Rodger Goodell wants nearly $50 million per year, in addition to using a lifetime private jet. So, I mean, how ridiculous is that? That's not good.
It's like he doesn't want his job. Maybe this is it. Maybe he is offering, he says, this is what I want, and so that he can get out of it. Maybe he doesn't want to do it anymore. He just doesn't want to quit and give everyone the satisfaction of, oh, I'm quitting.
I mean, the Fox Sports article that I'm reading is that a number of owners don't want to sign that contract, obviously because it's not a good contract.
I wonder who picks up the tab for the private jet, though. Is it like, does the NFL pick it up?
I assume the NFL would pick it up. I assume it's in some kind of like budget that in a lifetime use. So this is after he's done. He has a private jet.
That man can fly anywhere.
I mean, when you're getting $50 million a year, do you need a private jet? I mean, just go buy one.
If that's the contract, can I be NFL commissioner?
I mean, honestly, why not?
Because 2 weeks ago, I flew for the first time. I love flying. Like, that was great. And I was on a small jet too. I could do a private jet.
Well, here's the other thing. This is the other side of the whole just craziness around the NFL. So, as anybody knows, Rodger Goodell, especially if Ezekiel Elliott on your fantasy team, if anybody knows that Rodger Goodell and Jerry Jones has been getting into it because Ezekiel Elliott has been suspended 6 games for the season. Starting yesterday, but the Cowboys lost to the Falcons, and it showed that they really do need him. You're 5-4. He has 5 more games to go, and man, it didn't look good for them yesterday.
Also, didn't help that who's the defensive tackle for Atlanta that was in the back?
Claiborne.
Yeah, Claiborne was like all over Dak all day. So
now one of the bigger stories that have come out, and I actually told you about this, and you were like, I didn't even know about this. It has now hit CBS Sports. Is that the NFL owners are discussing what they're calling the nuclear option for taking the Cowboys away from Jerry Jones. So apparently there's a lot of drama, going around, and that a couple of owners are starting to turn on the Cowboys owner because of how he's attempted to wield his power in ownership circles. So, to be clear, and the CBS article says it as well, to be very clear, it is a very long shot. It's an outcome not likely to happen. But, that being said, it's pretty eye-opening to see owners kind of turn on one of the bigger owners in the league because of his using his power in these inner circles. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
I don't know. I'm not the biggest Jerry Jones fan. I've said that before. I'm not his biggest fan. I don't really like how outspoken he is. And sometimes that being outspoken is a good thing. But some of the things he says, I'm not his biggest fan. But I'm never for people forcing you to do something with something you own. It's like he owns the Cowboys. It'd be like if I was looking over here and I didn't like some of the text messages you were sending us in the group message. So I'm like, Jared, I'm going to force you to, me and Ryan and JJ and all our friends are going to force you to sell your phone.
Yeah, let's leave Noah out of this.
We're going to force you to sell your phone so that you can't keep doing this. How would you feel?
Well, let me ask you this question. And this is going back. Was the NBA right to force the Clippers to sell the team?
Now, there are some situations where it's...
So it depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation. I don't think Jerry Jones has done anything. He hasn't done anything...
Let's make this very clear. Jerry Jones. This is what Jerry Jones has done. This is what the Clippers owner did, okay?
Yeah.
It's night and day difference. My hand may have got cut off on the video. I'm not sure. Can't see.
But Jerry Jones hasn't done anything, racially charged, hasn't done anything to bring... I'm trying to think of the word. Bring a black eye to the league. Do anything, derogatory. Anything to affect the image of the NFL.
He has not. He hasn't.
So, if he hasn't done anything that affects the image of the NFL, why force him to sell something that he owns?
This is what happens when a lot of people with a lot of money get into one room and things just go downhill. That's what happens.
Now, what was the guy's name at the Clippers?
I don't remember. Brooks. Ryan's over in the corner, so you can get the name from him.
We're going to discuss our stat boy.
Donald Sterling?
Donald Sterling. That was what it was. Yeah. Donald Sterling, they got the recordings of him. That brought a black eye that was kind of a black eye to the NBA. So you kind of, you're like, well, we need to improve our image. Let's force him to sell it. Jerry Jones has not done anything to affect the NFL's image besides being very outspoken and saying his mind on issues concerning the league and the commissioner and all that.
The way I'm going to put it,
which most of the fans agree with him about some of the stuff he says about the commissioner.
I'll say two things. If Bob McNair wasn't forced to sell the Texans after what he said, Jerry Jones is fine. Okay, let's put that out there first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Second of all,
I forgot about that.
The fans are always right. And what I'm saying with that is the fans may majority agree about something, but sometimes things are just how they are. And there's no fault of anybody. That's just a structure. Okay? We don't like going to class at 8 a.m., but look, College of Liberal Arts is the only time they have this class at 8 a.m. We got to get up. We got to do it if we want the degree. That's just how it works. I know. That's just the system, And sometimes for the NFL, look, they talked about, limiting commercial breaks and stuff like that because people are tired of, coming back from break, watching a kickoff. Oh, we're going back to break. And it's true. It sucks. It sucks. It really does. But there's a whole big factor of you have to get so many ads in to make this much money. And if you don't, you're going to lose money. If you lose money, you won't be able to broadcast every game. And we know that we get upset when games get blacked out here. By the way, DirecTV, I still don't have Fox, so try to fix that at some point. But that's just what we're talking about. So it's just a structure of things and how they go. So, look, great discussion, but we got to go to our next break. So, there we go. And so when we come back, we're going to discuss. There we go. I finally got it. Don't worry. When we come back, we're going to discuss college basketball. It's back. Auburn got a big win last Friday in the home opener. Scored over 100 points. Bryce Brown, 31 points. But college basketball is back. It's time to talk about that and who we think are the early favorites to win it all. All that and more on the Extra Point here on WGL 91.1 FM or on Eagle Eye TV Channel 6.
I believe this is a practical world and that I can count only on what I earn. Therefore, I believe in work, hard work.
I believe in education, which gives me the knowledge to work wisely and trains my mind and my hands to work skillfully.
I believe in honesty and truthfulness, without which I cannot win the respect and confidence of my fellow men.
I believe in a sound mind, in a sound body, in a spirit that is not afraid, and in a clean sport that develops these qualities.
I believe in obedience to the law because it protects the rights of all. I believe in human touch, which cultivates sympathy with my fellow men and mutual helpfulness and brings happiness for all.
I believe in my country because it is a land of freedom and because it is my home, and that I can best serve that country by doing justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with my God.
And because Auburn men and women believe in these things, I believe in Auburn and love it.
I'm sorry. Was your headphones stuck?
My headphones were stuck on the mic. I'm glad you started, though, because that way you can't cut it out of our footage now.
Ugh.
It's going to be great. It's great TV.
Anyway, welcome back to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM or online at WEGLFM.com or on Eagle Eye TV Channel 6 or EagleEyeAuburn.com. Wow, that's a lot to say.
I think we just need to get like on this board back behind us. We just need to have a
whiteboard
list,
so I can just write on it.
like a list of all of our stuff and just say it's back there.
It's back there. So let's talk about first. Let's get into something that we totally forgot about to get into. Butch Jones out at Tennessee. Brady hoped to take over for the Volunteers. Okay, let's be honest. We all saw it coming, especially after you lose 50-17 to Missouri. Like, come on.
That was great.
Come on. That's just not good.
I'm sorry, Butch.
So
I love your Champions of Life deal, but like you're just not a college coach. Butch Jones is a guy that you would see like Butch Jones reminds me of the intense like gym teacher that's like, oh, we're gonna play dodgeball today, and like chucks the dodgeball at like
the movie Dodgeball.
Yes,
you just said
he's like the guy from Dodgeball. Yeah.
So pretty much, I know we talked about the possibility of Lane Kiffin being interested in the Tennessee job.
They're not gonna have him back.
Did you not Lane Kiffin? John Gruden.
I was about to say.
I'm about to say. Okay.
There's no way.
No. Forget Lane Kiffin.
Let's Lane Kiffin back into that state.
There were reports that John Gruden was interested in the Tennessee job.
Yes. That's a name.
Did you see the article that John Gruden is interested in the Tennessee Titans job, not the Tennessee Volunteers job?
I say he goes dual threat. He coaches both of them.
He coaches both of them.
Yeah. They have the Titans practices in the morning, and he flies. He's got enough money so he can fly to Knoxville in the afternoon for those practices. And then, off season he can focus on recruiting and let the GM take over with the draft.
I feel like that won't go over very well, but
he can bring a national championship and a Super Bowl to the state of Tennessee. That'd be great.
But hey, what do I know? So, with that being said, let's get into college basketball now.
I'll tell you what, man. I could do it. Just let me at him, man. I could do it. You give me Mike Tirico calling my games, too, I'll be great.
I have nothing to say.
It'll be great, man.
Let's get into college basketball. And the season's already started. Auburn had a big win last Friday, scoring over 100 points, even with all the, the noise going on around campus. And then now we get into the college basketball. Look, there's the whole LiAngelo Ball thing. He's still in China after the shoplifting fiasco that happened. And then over in the States, Duke is the AP #1 behind them, Michigan State. And then
it's the usual suspects.
And it's the usual suspects. And then the best thing about it is in a week or two, I don't remember the date, you're going to have that big tournament where
tomorrow.
It's tomorrow?
Where it's the
1 versus 2 and then 3 versus 4.
Kentucky,
and then 4 versus 5.
And Duke, Michigan State tomorrow night.
My weeks are all over the place. Oh, it's tomorrow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's tomorrow night. It's going to be great.
So that's going to be fun.
That's always fun. It gives you that March Madness feel in early June, July, whatever this month is. What?
Wait.
November. We're in November.
So, Brooks, talk about the big feeling. Okay, so what we're going to do until we're done, because I want to do this, is we're going to sit here. Sports Illustrated had a bracket, a preseason bracket.
Naturally.
And I want to go through this. And I just want you to kind of just look at everything and just see, and tell me what you think. Okay.
Okay.
So
what do you mean? What I think?
So just of the matchups of the teams in there.
Okay.
So in the West, we have #1 Arizona and #16 Texas Southampton. Which I'm going to be honest.
Hold on. Texas what?
Texas Southampton.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It is.
I know a lot.
I had to double check.
I know a lot of college basketball small schools. I have never heard of them in my life.
Well,
are you sure that's a thing?
Yes, it's a thing.
Oh my, Southampton.
Okay. Okay, stop. But here's the big one. Here's the big one right now. Virginia has an 8 seed against Auburn, a 9 seed.
A 9. Ooh, that's fairly generous. I'm gonna move it so I can look at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna move it so So that way, I'm like in the shot still.
Yeah.
And so then after that,
that's generous. I like that matchup though.
Purdue and Middle Tennessee. Usual suspects.
Yeah. Auburn gets to play Middle Tennessee coming up here in about a month up in Birmingham. That'll be a good matchup.
Xavier versus Loyola Chicago.
The Flames.
Are they?
No, that's
Mary. I think that's Marymount.
Loyola. Hold on. I don't know.
Brooks, to be quite honest,
there's something.
I don't know. Also, if you're a Browns fan, linebacker Jamie Collins, MCL, is out for the season. So there you go.
I'm sorry.
So then, after that, you have Northwestern versus Texas Marquette. So Texas or Marquette.
Oh, I was about to say Texas Marquette. hang on. Let me look at this.
And then you have.
You read that wrong.
What do you mean?
That 16, that is Texas Southern / Hampton.
I did read it wrong.
That's one of those play-in games.
It is a
Southern
play-in
versus
game.
South. It's Texas Southern versus
let's put it this way. Sports Illustrated, how about you format your tournament bracket better? How about that?
Texas Southampton.
You know what? And you know what? Google it. It probably still at the school.
I don't think there's a Southampton in Texas.
Miami versus Lipscomb. Butler, UCF. Kentucky, Western Michigan row the boat. Wichita State, Weber State. Texas A&M, Providence. North Carolina, Bucknell.
Wait, hold on. Do they have Wichita State as the number 1 seed?
They do. In the Midwest.
That's insane. That'd be great, though, but that's insane.
USC versus Yale. Alabama versus Texas Tech or Indiana. Louisville versus Furman. Maryland versus Nevada. Kansas versus Iona. Then over in the East, Michigan State versus either Nichols or St. Francis, Pennsylvania.
Nichols gets to play Villanova tomorrow night, I believe.
We have Rhode Island, Creighton. UCLA and the College of Charleston. Notre Dame, New Mexico State. Gonzaga, Wisconsin. West Virginia, Belmont. Minnesota, Missouri. Villanova, South Dakota State. Then over in the South, number 1 seed Duke against UC Irvine. Oregon, Michigan. Baylor, Vermont.
That Oregon-Michigan game would be an enticing matchup. I like that matchup.
St. Mary's, Oakland. TCU, Virginia Tech. Florida, Louisiana Lafayette. Seton Hall, Oklahoma. And in Cincinnati versus UNC Asheville. And that would be your 64 teams. Or 68 teams.
I can't believe that Wichita State is a 1 seed.
I can't believe Auburn's a 9 seed. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Auburn a 9 seed. That's crazy too.
So in all of that, this is based on team rankings and projected scoring margins and all that nice stuff. So, do you want to guess what one Final Four game is? One of the Final Four games that they project that could possibly happen is a Kentucky-Wichita State matchup, which I looked at it and I was like, I mean, sure, I guess, but...
That's funny. I like that.
But this is, look, I'm going to be honest. College basketball is way too much for me to comprehend. There's too many teams.
Oh, college basketball is the best.
That's why I thought Texas Southampton was a team. Because it was not outside the realm of possibility, to be quite honest. But this is the problem, that a lot of people run into. There's just so many teams. Look, let's be honest. The most fun part of college basketball is March.
Yeah, everyone's ready for March.
Everybody's ready for March. Even if you didn't watch 1 minute of college basketball, you're all in for March.
It's like the NBA. You watch Christmas Day, and then you're like, all right, when are the playoffs?
I mean, I think the NBA is a little bit different. Because there's still high-profile games you want to watch. College basketball.
There's high-profile games you want to watch.
College basketball. Oh, Auburn won. Oh, Auburn lost. Oh, Auburn won. Hey, Duke won. Oh, all right, it's March Madness.
Duke, North Carolina. That's always a great matchup.
I mean, that's what college basketball is. And there's so many games in college basketball.
There's so many games
ridiculous.
in the NBA.
I mean, that's true, but these college teams are playing, 30-plus games?
Sure.
In the regular season, and then the whole March Madness, it's crazy. It's great. I love it, but it's hard for me to keep up with not only could you imagine if college football was 68 teams?
Like a 68-team bracket?
Yes.
That'd be fun. You know how fun that would be?
That would be ridiculous.
That'd be great.
You know what we should do, Brooks?
Cut the season in half and just start a 68-team bracket.
We're gonna start with the college football playoff rankings, and then we are going to create our own 64-team bracket for college football.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Are we going to actually do that?
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to have it for next week's show.
Oh,
we're going to create a 64-team bracket.
I'm so in.
And we're going to fill it out. Okay?
Here comes UCF as a 1 seed.
Okay?
I'm all in.
I know you use that one website, the score predictor, where you put together 2 teams and who would win.
Yeah. Oh, so we have to break it down, too, of who would win the matchups?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to do because that's a long show. So if we did a special edition.
Like a podcast special edition?
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, that's nifty.
You hear that, everybody?
Ooh.
We may have a special edition coming up.
I like that.
But with that being said, look, we got to go to break. So, look, when we come back, we're going to talk NBA basketball. Oklahoma City Thunder, they're going this way. Boston Celtics, they're going that way. They're going that way. You listen to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM or online at WEGLFM.com.
This is a place where it only takes a second to imagine your future. Grasp a new concept in class. Inspire a child's curiosity. Discover a real-world solution. Seize an unexpected opportunity.
There goes Davis!
This is where you gain the preparation, confidence, and determination to succeed. This is Auburn.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And welcome back into the studio. You're listening to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM, online at WEGLFM.com, or you're watching us on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6, or on EagleEyeAuburn.com. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at @the_extra_point. Or if you want to follow us individually on Twitter, just look down right here and right here. You can see it. You don't see anything.
That's impressive. I like that.
So let's get into NBA basketball. All right. Boston Celtics. Or let's go this way. Let's start with the Thunder first. Let's start from the bottom and then go to the top. Okay. So the Thunder, they're struggling. I want to pull up what they did this week. Okay, they're 6-7. They're 6-7. They went 2-2 last week. Okay. And they got games against Chicago and San Antonio. So Chicago, winnable game. San Antonio on the road, or not so much. But with that being said, they are 1-6 in games that have gone to clutch time when being outscored by 50 points per 100 possessions, which is last in the NBA. In other words, where's the defense?
It's like Oklahoma. They're on par. They're Oklahoma City, and they're just like the Oklahoma Sooners. They got offense.
Yeah,
they
but
just
here's
don't
the
have a
thing.
defense.
Oklahoma can outscore anybody. Oklahoma City cannot. If they could, they wouldn't be 6-7.
That's true.
And then you have the Boston Celtics, who, well, let me tell you what's going on for the Celtics right now. They started 0-2. They lost Gordon Hayward, all right, to that freak accident, which nobody wants to remember, okay? And then you lose Al Horford. You lose your center. And then you lose Kyrie to a fracture in his face. The Celtics have still won 12 games in a row. Started 0-2, they're now 12-2, okay? They got games at Brooklyn.
Very winnable.
They have a game at Atlanta.
Very winnable.
But they're at home to Golden State.
That's where the problem could run in there.
So it's Brooklyn, Golden State, Atlanta this week in that order. So you're going to go on the road to Brooklyn, come back home, and play Golden State. And look, get this. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, their 12-game winning streak is tied with the 2006-2007 Dallas Mavericks. That's how I get my team in this conversation.
Always got to slip them in there, don't you?
For the longest win streak following an 0-2 start to the season, the Mavericks went on to win 67 games that season, which is the most in franchise history. And that is your Mavericks stat of the day. That's not a weekly thing. I don't have very much about the Mavericks. Or bad. How about that?
You can just mention Dirk's name once a week, and then we'll be fine.
So, with that being said, Brooks, you have something for us as we close out the show. Butch Jones out at Tennessee. We talked about that. But the names that have been brought up to replace him.
Yeah, I've got a list of. Let me bring this over here so I'm not reading out of the side of my reading, so I can actually acknowledge the camera's existence. All right. So
don't worry, it doesn't want you to be here either.
How dare you? So here are some of the names that have been thrown out for the Butch Jones opening at Tennessee. You got Mike Bobo, the head coach at Colorado State. He hasn't done a bad job at Colorado State. They would, that's going another Georgia assistant that took that job. That's kind of the Jim McElwain area. Jeff Brom, head coach at Purdue, hadn't done a bad job there. He's only been there 1 year, and he's done a decent job with them. Matt Campbell, head coach at Iowa State, he's done a really good job over there. You play me off like the Oscars?
Yeah.
Scott Frost at UCF, that'd be a great. That's
the one.
A great job.
That's the one. But he's totally going to Florida or Nebraska.
Let's see. Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's been mentioned.
Now, did you see the article that Chip Kelly they've already been in talks from SEC country. So if you want to look it up, go to SEC country. But they've already started vetting for Chip Kelly at Tennessee.
Oh, that would be a nightmare for the East. If he could get in there and get recruiting like he did at Oregon, that'd be a nightmare. The other two names that I really like on this list is, I don't think this one's going to work, but Mike Gundy's been mentioned. I don't think he's going to leave Oklahoma State, though, but that's a really good name. I think he would fit well at Tennessee. And then a guy from just down the road from us, Neil Brown, head coach at Troy. I think he would. That
would be interesting.
He's an up-and-coming coach. He's been at Troy for 3 years. They played really close against Clemson, beat LSU this year at Troy, which is not a football powerhouse, let me tell you. But I think that would be a really, if they're going for an up-and-coming coach's name, that is him, Neil Brown or Scott Frost is the two names for up-and-coming.
Do you think Tennessee's going to try to reach out to Stoops?
I think
it's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
It's like the Chip Kelly, Bob Stoops, Les Miles trio that you have to reach out to them.
It's like NFL. When you're at the NFL, you have an opening. You kind of feel obligated to reach, at least say, hey, Nick Saban, do you want to come back to the NFL? And it's like the obligatory thing. I think Bob Stoops is done. But I think, you got to reach out to him and just ask.
Well, that's going to do it for us for today. Thank you guys for listening. If you want more, you can just follow us at the Xtra_Point on Twitter, or for us individually, just look down below and you can see our Twitter handles. And for more on Xtra Point, you can always listen to us on SoundCloud at WGL 91.1 FM or Eagle Eye Auburn. Tuesdays at noon is when this show comes out on video. We're going to go and edit that right now into SoundCloud, and the podcast will be up in about 10 minutes.
That's pushing it.
You know what that is? That's Auburn Fast right there.
Auburn Fast.
So thank you guys for listening. Same time, same place next week. And I say next week because, Brooks, we're doing a show. I don't care if it's Thanksgiving or not.
Happy Thanksgiving. We'll both be here, so.
We'll both be here, sadly. Well, thank you guys for listening. Same time, same place next week. We'll see you then.